Hi guys, how are you? Welcome back to my garden on a beautiful warm day. It really feels like summer is finally on its way here. It's almost muggy. This is like the normal feeling of summer here because there's all the wetland around us. Even though they're not so wet at the moment, still enough to make the air feel muggy. But there's a little breeze here at the back of the garden at the slope, so it's kind of like really nice and wonderful actually. I'm sitting here on my bench because we're in the afternoon. I already had my afternoon coffee and I prepared what I want to do with you in today's video. I want to take you with me to the other side of the slope, which is my new fruit and vegetable garden. Love working in it. Like every single day I do something in there, and if it's just like the meditative 20 minutes of do some weeding, I'm just so filled with joy about this new area. And I finally managed to prepare the third and the last raised bed. It's ready, filled up with soil, so I can finally get some sowing done with you today. And I was in the garden center in the morning, mainly to buy some soil just to fill up the raised bed. But then, as it happens when you're in the garden center, I found something else. I was like, oh, they're cute. I needed to have them, and they're going to go into containers. So I hope you're excited to see what I want to do with you in the vegetable garden today. First, I want to give you a quick close look at my vegetable garden. So this is a top layer where I have my 3 raised beds, and you might see the first one is a quite amazing sight. It's filled with all different kind of salad crops that made me so happy this year. Just behind it, this is where I store all of my pots, where I have my annuals and some additional seed sowing. So my extra pumpkin vines are in there, and some, what else did I do actually? Cabbages and kale, all different kind of things. I've really gone a little bonkers with my seeds this year. But this is the second terrace, and here things really start to come with a lot of growth now. So you see, if I show you my finger, an entire row of potatoes is up there, looks fantastic. The cauliflower looks great, then the beets are looking nice, artichokes, and then here the fennel was hit a little bit by cold wind, but it just comes back with a lot of new fresh green foliage, which is perfect. And then the last layer, this is where I was sowing all of my pumpkin vines with you. No germination yet, but I think it might happen every day from now. I'm going to keep you posted, obviously, but I just want to give you a closer look at my salads because they make me extremely happy. There is Roma salad here, and that already starts to go into its shape. So it kind of just like starts to grow upwards, and then you really have this center that is a little firmer. Lovely salad. Then I have my picking salad, so the brown variety and a green one, and then rocket and cilantro. And I still keep some of them under the cloche because you can definitely see the difference of those that have been protected versus those that haven't been. There is such a difference in the growth, and I already tried both of them, the leaves at least. I haven't made an entire salad because it isn't enough yet, but they taste fantastic. It's really, especially the rocket, cannot compare it with anything from the supermarket. Here, this is where I have all of my bell peppers and chilies, and they were hit by a very cold wind, so I'm not sure if all of those plants survived. I put cloches over some of them at least, but you can tell with some of the bell peppers, like the first sets of leaves, they look yellow and a little crunchy, but then they produce new leaves from the center. So I think that they are going to pull through, which is going to make me very, very happy. Then here, the third raised bed, this is what I'm going to sow today. And these are the crops. I already put them out here, already prepared my labels. And what is going to go in here are carrots, 2 different kind of carrots, a color blend one, they're called harlequin. Then these fast crop carrots, the tiny round ones, they should ripen very fast. They are called Parisian market. Another salad crop, this is Endivia. It's got to be a little bit on the bitter side, but a taste that I really love. And then some more radishes. I already had yellow radishes, and they start to ripen now. So just to keep the crop going, I thought, okay, I'm just going to put 1 or 2 rows in here as well. And then there's my little basket where I keep all of my seeds. It's a little chaotic in here, but I just want to show you what I was sowing as well. Yes, I might be going out on a limb with that one. I'm trying melons this year. One of my favorite, the orange kind of melon. And I think it might work because the fruit don't grow to such an enormous size. So eventually I might be lucky with those. Let's see. You know what? It was not a big investment, and I'm going to plant them just out there into no man's land because they're in no man's way then. So if I'm going to harvest at least 1 single melon, I'd be the happiest person on planet growing melons in the north of Poland. But What else I'm going to do is I will put something in containers and it already sits on top of the container. This is what I saw in the garden center. I love strawberries, one of my favorite fruit there is. And then these little beauties came with kind of velvety red blooms and I thought, okay, mine, I need to have them. So 5 of them went straight into my shopping cart. 3 are going to go into this container and 2 are going to go into this container here. There is still some primroses. Some of the leaves are looking a little bit like, well, dry, but still there's a lot of new fresh growth coming from the center, so they haven't died. So what I'm going to do is I'll plant these out into the landscape. And then I just want to give you a quick last look onto my amaranth because it makes me so happy, especially this variety here. This is called Autumn Palette, and look at these plants. After potting them on, they've really started to grow so fast now. And I think I'm about to plant them out into the landscape because you can really tell the difference. Once amaranth is out in the landscape, they really start growing super fast. It's really hard to describe it, but I think now they're at the point where slugs and snails can't do such a damage to them. But before that happens, I'm going to start with sowing some lovely crops into my raised bed. Whenever you're sowing seeds, the lovely thing is you can always just turn the pack around and all the information you need to know is just on the back. So you need to know how deep the seeds need to go into the ground, which is like 0.5 to 1 centimeters. Then they start germinating after 1 to 2 weeks. The spacing in between each row should be 20 to 30 centimeters, which I'm so not going to do because they go into the raised beds. Full sun, and then you can harvest after 14 to 18 weeks. It's a little longer, so let's see. I think also depending on how big you like to have your crop. So all the information you need is always on the back of your seeds. So what I'm going to do now is tell you actually why I'm going to grow my carrots in a raised bed. There's a quite good reason on why I grow my carrots in a raised bed, because carrots and parsnips, they are known for a pest, which is the carrot fly. And it is not really the fly that does the actual harm to your plant, it is the larvae that does it. So the fly is going to lay its eggs next to the carrot, and the larvae, which are like yellow tiny maggots, they are eating the skin of your carrot, and ultimately that ends up that your crop starts to rot. You will see first signs of that when the top growth, like the foliage, starts to wilt or change color into yellow. Might also be a reason of iron deficiency, so chlorosis, but most of the time it really has to do with a pest. But you can solve the problem with raised beds because the female flies, they don't fly very high. So if you have a raised bed that is 2 feet high or at least 60 centimeters, 60 to 80 centimeters, the female fly does not fly so high, so your carrots are safe and sound and you will not suffer from any kind of damage on your lovely carrot crop. So this is one of the reasons on why I put it here. Let's look at the seeds. This is the first time I'm growing carrots in my own garden though, by the way. Like my parents did it in the garden because in the north of Germany we also had very sandy soil. And I don't remember really how the seed looks like. I'm going to give you a closer look in a moment. Kind of like fennel. It smells good. Just open in the package. Kind of sweetish. I mean, carrots are sweet in a way, but they definitely smell good. So I'm just going to define my trenches here with my hand because the soil is fresh and lofty and wonderful. And I think I'm going to do 3 rows of this carrot here and 3 of the Parisian market. And another good reason why I put these in my raised bed is that Alfie loves to eat carrots. And I was warned by multiple people that were like, if you grow your carrots in your normal kitchen garden, Alfie might just come and dig them out before they're ripe because she smells them and she's like, delicious. So all I do now is sprinkle them in quite thin, because if you put too many seeds in here, then obviously you need to thin them later on, and this is not really what I want to do. I'm going to give you a closer look in a second how I do this. And then just backfill it with some soil, and in goes the label so that I remember what grows actually where, especially with the carrots, because I'm not so sure if with the top growth I'm going to be able to see instantly what grows where. So I'm going to do 3 rows of this variety and 3 rows of the Parisian market variety. So this is how the carrot seeds look. So I'm just going to put some on my hand now. Kind of, if you ever sow fennel, they kind of look very much the same, I would say, just smaller. And then all I do is just take them and sprinkle them really thin into here. Try to make it kind of even because I don't want to thin them. Thinning always means that you lose some of your plants, and that would be kind of sad. And this is all I do, and then just quickly backfill my trench so that they are roughly 1 centimeter in depth. It's going to be very lofty and nice. So I'm just going to do the same with the tiny Parisian markets, and then I'm going to show you how the seeds of the Endivia looks like. Again, a first for me, never grew it in my garden. Very excited to see how this seed looks. I also want to show you how the radish seeds looks like. So this is the variety called Diana. Honestly, I just bought them because of the color. I was not really looking at a name or anything, but seeds on radishes are always quite nice and big, and this is wonderful. They're a great starter if you've never sown any vegetables because they are easy, they don't require a lot. They're also great if you want to do some sowing with kids, because I remember my mum always let me sow these because they are so easy. So all you do is, again, come in and just sprinkle them in your trench. And always try and sprinkle them a little bit evenly, because then you don't need to thin anything, because if they're too close, then obviously you're not going to have a good, nice harvest. And then quickly come in again, backfill it, and that is it. So I'm going to have 2 wonderful rows of more radishes. The last crop that goes in here is a salad, the Endivia. I haven't opened the pack yet, so let's see what to expect, if they look just like all the other salad crops or not. No, they don't. Definitely different, interesting. Kind of a good size for sowing again, so really easy. You could just like sprinkle them in quite evenly again. So I'm going to have 3 trenches full of the Endivia, and I'm so happy to keep you posted how everything is going to germinate in here, because this is, well, besides the radishes, this is a raised bed of firsts for me. Strawberries are one of those fruit that definitely thrive extremely well in a container, and even if you just have a balcony, you can just pop 1 or 2 of these in between your normal annuals, because they'll be very happy planting neighbor. And I think the foliage looks nice, and the blooms, obviously, they're very cute. And now if you decide on growing some of the newer varieties, you have some of those like endless summer strawberries that kind of keep on flowering and producing fruit throughout the entire summer, completely different to those older varieties when I was a child. So when I was a kid, you had your vegetable garden, and my parents had like 4 or 5 rows of strawberries, and it was nice throughout summer for like 6 weeks maybe, but then that was it. And for the rest of the year, you had this big patch not doing or producing anything, which was always a little sad, even though there's nothing better and nothing more yummy than going out and just picking your own strawberries when they're still warm from the sun. And this is where I'm like, okay, I really want to do it, and I just want to amp up my game and start a little bit with these here in containers. And the lovely thing about containers as well is that I can just put them wherever I wanted to. This is an ideal area, just sitting here now in the afternoon sun. I can tell I'm feeling hot. It is really so well protected and sheltered here that I think there is a reason why the salad crops are looking so fantastic up here, because it is protected. It's a lot of sun in this area, and strawberries will love and enjoy just the exact same situation. So what I do is I have a container, and I had some spring flowers in here. So the soil is still kind of like good. You don't need to replace the entire soil. So all I do is I just come in with a little bit of fresh soil straight from the bag, so that I have some good nutritions going on. Just fill it up bit by bit. And then I come in with organic bone chips as usual. Just start and dig it all under. And organic bone chips, all they do is, I always tell you like they're good for the nitrogen level, but what they do is they encourage your plant to produce more roots. So it is literally good for root development. This is why you always put it there. It's not like a liquid feeder where you encourage your plant to be like, hey, I want to produce more blooms. No, it does something different, but strong roots are what you really want to have on your plants, because the plants are always feeding on strong roots. So this looks kind of good, I would say. A lot of bone chips in here, so all you do is now just pop them over. They are a little pot bound, I already saw, because I already potted up 2 in here. So I'm just going to break them, but just a little bit and gentle at the base, because they do already flower. So breaking the roots now at this time of the year is definitely extra stress for them. And then just 3 in here. You need to have a good eye on the water level though. So whatever, as always, whatever you grow in a container, you want to make sure that they don't dry out completely. And what you want to do as well on these is, oh, this is not pop bound. In order to keep them going, every now and then you want to give them a little bit of a liquid fertilizer eventually. I mean, the organic bone chips, they are good for the root development, but still, if you want to make sure that they keep on producing fruit, it is a good idea to come in with a lovely organic liquid fertilizer. And I think this is what I'm going to do. I need to have an eye on it. I would suggest maybe once a month, really depending on how your plants are looking, maybe a little more often. In general, on the package it always says every 2 weeks you should fertilize it, but I don't overdo it, because sometimes I feel like too much in the end is also not good. You know, it's kind of like when your plants are growing outside in the landscape, nobody comes in. The deer doesn't come in with a water can and waters in your strawberries that grow outside in the woods. So that is wonderful, isn't it? It looks so cute already. I'm going to mulch it, and lovely, I'm sitting here on a big pile of mulch, so I don't even need to do a lot. I can just come in like this and quickly mulch it. And strawberries, I'm not really sure if the name really originates from it, but if you see strawberries planted out on a farmland, you can really tell that there is straw in between. And the reason for it is simple, and wood chips just do the same job pretty much, is that when the fruits start to ripen, that they're not sitting on the soil, because when they're on the soil, they might start to rot eventually, depending on how damp or wet it is. But when you have straw or wood chips there, they're kind of like sitting a little idle and drier, and then your strawberries will be just fine and perfect. I think they'd be very beautiful. Here, I'm just going to rearrange a little bit. All that I'm going to do is say thank you so much for watching today's video, and I think that this is going to be it in the vegetable garden. Now for a little while I'm going to just keep you posted with how things are getting along here, but all the 3 raised beds are filled now. Almost everything at the bottom layer there is filled now. I'm just waiting for my pumpkin, so that is pretty much all I can do at this point. I have a few things still sitting here in some of my pots that might go into the vegetable garden, but I think I might just melt it into one of my, I don't know, things I do on a daily basis videos or something like that. Hope you enjoyed today's video. The next video, I can tell you already, a little spoiler alert, there will be a video on its way where I'm going to have a little bit more of a big impact by the end of the video, rather than just a still kind of empty looking raised bed in my bag. Still, thank you so much for watching today's video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in my garden next time around. Take care, guys.